we wanted to build a church or create a space from the remnant for the rest of us, for those that were maybe on the fringes or on the outskirt, or those that just kind of felt marginalized. And I think that's what we did.
Yeah, absolutely.
A couple years ago, they came to us and they said, we think that we are going to start a church, plant a church here in Bakersfield. And Keith and I right away were like, we're on board. Let's go. Let's do this.
It was in the middle of pandemic, and honestly, we were coming out of a season where we couldn't see others. I remember in the very beginning having our first meetings in this living room and not having any idea what would become of it, but just knowing that we felt called to it.
You can feel that God's presence was in the middle of it. No matter how small it was starting, that God was in the midst of it.
Us being the owners of the Dignity Health Sports Complex, during COVID, there was an opportunity to utilize the back room here that we have and allow Alberto to kind of expand his vision of starting his own church and his own congregation.
My first experience at the Collective was here at Dignity Center, not obviously in this large space, but we were just over in the dance hall. And I remember walking in and thinking, this is different, you know?
So it had windows on one side, mirrors on the other side.
We were in a 99-degree room.
There was not much space and there was not much equipment, but there was plenty of passion from the people in the room.
It was just Gregorio on the guitar, but worship was amazing.
You could feel the movement of God in that room. We knew we had found our new church home.
We really felt like there was an entire group of people in the city that we weren't doing them justice with the current expressions of faith in the city.
I was in the Teen Challenge program, and I automatically think, what are people going to think of me? But after, it was just awesome. A moment that Pastor just started preaching, and the way that he incorporates like those little jokes that he does, I loved it, and I fell in love with it. And I knew as soon as I got out of this program that I was going to come back.
It felt warm and welcoming, and I felt like the Lord was saying, this is your new place.
The opportunity to get to be a part of something like this brought so much restoration, brought so much life into areas that we were all hurting in. But at the same time, it also brought that to the city.
I feel like the second I walked up to the Nile Theater, I began to experience God. From the people that greeted me, to the coffee shop right through the door, everything from that point on to the stage.
Acting out, being a part of this community has allowed me to be my true self, allowing different parts of my life being exposed and feeling comfortable and accepted regardless of those issues.
It's honestly saved my whole family. I have a lot of my family, like my blood family, that comes to this church, and then people who aren't even my family, they've become my family to me.
You know, we felt comfortable. There was no judgment, and we just embraced it.
We knew that there were people in Bakersfield that needed a place to feel safe and meet Jesus. And I think the church has so beautifully put people first.
We suffer in isolation, but we heal in community.
I think that a lot of us go through church hurt. And so I can speak for myself personally that I've just healed so much being at the Collective Church and just been able to establish some great relationships with authentic people.
At like previous churches, I would just go and attend and then leave immediately. But now I stick around and talk to people and see how their day is, and it's like the best part of my week.
It's always been before church I was always just by myself and didn't have anybody to lean on, who to call. And I have phone numbers now that I can call, hey, I'm feeling a certain way. And they're real quick to be like, come over, let's go have lunch. And I didn't have that before.
I can be myself, and it's so nice where you can be a part of a church and you feel like you can say anything, and say anything real and true and deep and funny and just anything.
Finding community in this church has been so exciting because there's so many different types of people in different walks of life.
Alberto and I are actually such a small fraction of the Collective Church because two people could not do what happens here.
If I had something to look forward to at the Collective, it would be that we would operate in a way that we would allow the Lord to build his kingdom. We would come along for the ride. We would do the work that we're called to do. Whatever that looks like, I think that would be awesome, and I would love to be a part of it.
The dream for the Collective would simply be that we wouldn't stop.
that we wouldn't slow down, that there wouldn't be something that we find a hiccup and we say, okay, well, this is enough now. This is good enough. This is far enough. That we would continue to press in towards all that God has, not just for us, not for selfish gain, but that we would do it for this city.
We're just so grateful for everyone who's called the Collective their home, even those who maybe have come and visited and prayed for us or have just championed us along the way. We've just been so incredibly indebted to you and for believing in us and believing in the vision that God has given us. God has given us favor, and the favor is not for us just to feed ourselves and just for us to prosper, but the favor is given so that we might reach more people for Jesus. And I think we need to live with greater urgency. We live on borrowed time. We never know when Jesus is going to come back. I know that's not a popular thing that we like to hear. When he does come back, I want him to be able to look down at our lives and at the Collective and say, man, they gave it their all to reach people for Jesus. The time is now to follow Jesus. The time is now to lead your marriage. The time is now to lead your children. The time is now to lead in your workplace. The time is now to see more people come and know Jesus. We are on borrowed time, and there's just such an urgency in me to see the gospel spread in our city and all over as we celebrate 2 years. We also want to celebrate you. We want to celebrate the people of the Collective Church, and thank you for your faithfulness and being a part of what God is doing here.